Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Wednesday, June 1st edition of studentloanjustice.org. Welcome, everybody. If you're new to the group, welcome. Glad you found us. What took you so long? We are the nation's oldest, largest, first, and in many ways, only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around for 17 years now. We've done a lot of stuff. Seen a lot of things, gotten a lot of fights, etc. But we're glad that you found us. Tell a friend, by the way. We are, in many ways, the only game in town in terms of actually fighting for actual student loan justice. Up to $10,000 loan cancellation is not student loan justice. Up to $50,000 is nonsense. It's a sick joke, and you are the punchline. We're not going there. We're going on the right path, and I will discuss that in detail in a minute. I've got a couple of announcements for today. First of all, this is probably going to be yet another record-breaking week for the bad guys publishing bad crap propaganda against us. Yesterday, I didn't even count. I think there was 7 distinct articles written against us. The day before, it was like 5 or 6 or something. It was ridiculous. Today was not good either, by the way. So that's the way this is going to go, which is good because that's a sign that our opposition is freaked out. The student loan swamp is freaked out, and we're glad. It's a good thing. By the way, we got a really good piece out today. In fact, our own Michael Cheney from somewhere in Ohio. I said Oregon earlier. Sorry, Michael, if you're watching. Our own Michael Cheney, a truck driver in Ohio, Circleville, something, was the featured interview in a featured, I don't know if it's front page, might have been front page, story about student loan debt. Michael is, as I said, a truck driver. So it wasn't a perfect piece, but just the fact that Michael totally destroyed the myth of student loan borrowers being these young, entitled, snowflakes, that thing. That's just, it's never been right. It's not right today. And thank you, Michael, for putting a face to that, to the actual people who are being hurt by these loans. By the way, liberal elites, they don't get student loans. They're elites. They have trust funds and stuff. So anyways, good on you, Michael. We are very hopeful. It wasn't a perfect piece, as I said. They interviewed people like Matt Chingos from the, and he's a terrible guy, from a terrible organization called the Urban Institute, which has been cheerleading the federal student loan program for many years. And the point of the piece was, will Biden cancel 10,000? Think he might cancel 50,000? Or no, maybe just 10,000? Or will he cancel anything at all? I don't know. That whole narrative is just crap, guys. This lending system has catastrophically failed. Up to 50,000 is a joke. It'll come to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. 10,000 is even 10,000. Many, perhaps most people on our group think is worse than nothing, and it is worse than nothing, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing this for 17 years. The most important policy point I'm going to make tonight is there is a trick in the offing, and the bad people, the people in Washington, D.C., would love to play this trick. The trick is to foist a meaningless loan cancellation on the citizens, keep the threat of bankruptcy gone from the loans so that the lending system perpetuates itself. We've been tricked before. We're not going to be tricked again. The 17-year institutional memory of this group prevents us from being suckers and chumps yet again. We're not going there. We're not going to be fooled. Neither should you. So, hey, if you have any questions or comments, I'm gonna actually try and keep it kind of short tonight, guys. But if you have any questions or comments, you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook Live, then by all means, throw your comments out, and if I can see them, I will gladly respond to them. And I actually have a mouse now, so supposedly I should be able to scroll cleanly and slowly through the comments and not miss them. So, hey, Leslie's with us tonight. Hey, Leslie, thank you. Thank you, Leslie, for the donation, by the way. It was a very tight fundraising deal for us this past week. They raised our rent on us in our dingy little Wisconsin crappy apartment, but whatever. So thank you, Leslie, for the donation. Totally helps. So Leslie's with Jay Joanna's Kern was with us here from Florida. So tonight, oh, Aaron, thank you also for the donation. Wow, we got 2 donors here tonight. Ann Cooper is here. Hey, and we have a question from Ann. Ann Cooper asks, hi, Alan, have you considered setting up a channel on Telegram? I think you could attract a huge following there of people who aren't on Twitter and Facebook. Great question, Ann. And I have to be honest with you, I have not considered a channel on Telegram. I'm really maxed out on the number of platforms I can devote a lot of time to, but we have a Restream channel now, and we can multicast to many different channels. So we're on not only Facebook and Twitter, we're also streaming right now on YouTube, and I think Instagram as well, if memory serves, possibly TikTok. No, not TikTok. So I would definitely consider it if I could handle it. What I cannot handle, guys, is having to post everything I post, everything on another platform all the time. Because right now I post one thing on Facebook, I have to I'll typically have to repost it on Twitter and on, and it becomes like an hour per platform a day. And I'm working on this problem lately, like 17, maybe between 14 and 17 hours a day on, I'd say that's an average. Like every waking hour of the day, I'm doing this stuff. And guys, I'm maxed out. I can't do anymore. But I appreciate your thought. And I would look at Telegram. And if Telegram is easily portable as a channel from Restream, then I'm interested. So Leslie, great question. You know, it's tough, guys. It's tough when you have multiple platforms all begging for your attention. You know, I swore I would never do Twitter with any seriousness, and now I swear I spend probably more time on Twitter than on Facebook. And so, anyways, technology. But yeah, no, maybe we should chat about that, Ann. That would be something might be worth looking into. So tonight, guys, I want to talk about something that it's pretty obvious to me. But guys, we need a fresh start. And I don't mean just getting bankruptcy protections to return to the loans. By the way, the most important political point I will make tonight, guys, as a practical matter, we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy, which nobody wants to file, return to student loans. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But in the absence of the threat, the leverage of bankruptcy, Joe Biden is probably never going to meaningfully cancel loans. He could call a press conference tomorrow and say, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans. He could say that tomorrow. The band would cheer, the parade would go by, the ticker tape, the champagne, all that stuff would happen. And at the end of the day, you know what would actually happen? Almost nothing for almost everyone. They would bureaucratize it to death. They would means test it via application. And by the time they get done, who knows when, a couple of years from now, they'll be like, yeah, no, we set up to 50 grand, but you get 13K. You get nothing because you earn too much. You get nothing because you didn't file your taxes. You get nothing because you're in default. You get nothing because we couldn't determine how much you earned. You get nothing because you didn't dot your I and cross your T. You get 7 grand. You get 12 grand. Congratulations. It'll be like that, guys. That's the way the Department of Education has always operated. That is, they have no desire or intentions of canceling any loans. Now, with the threat of bankruptcy returned to us, that all changes. When we get this constitutionally enshrined right, that is the leverage of bankruptcy back on our side, they're pretty much going to have to cancel loans broadly, meaningfully, deeply, and who knows. But what I'm here to tell you guys tonight, and that is considered a fresh start. You know, bankruptcy has always been considered in this country to be sort of a fresh start. But guys, this lending system is so terribly failed. So here's a tweet. Let me just direct you to my tweets. Here's a tweet that I did yesterday. And let me just blow this sucker up for you all and put it in your face here. So hopefully, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. Here's a tweet that I did yesterday. It's probably the tweet of all my tweets. I hate Twitter. I hate saying tweet. It's like emasculating or something. But anyways, here's the tweet that I did yesterday. I called, if you can see my mouse, I called on the president to, number one, suspend the lending program. Suspend it. This lending system has failed. It's done. It's finished. It should not be allowed to continue. It is a national threat. End it. Suspend the lending program. Number two, for a couple of years, for an indeterminate length of time, put the colleges on direct funding, no loans for a year or two. And during that time, and by the way, reduced funding. Instead of throwing $100 billion in loans at students, maybe winnow that down to $70 billion a year or something. I would say 70%, if not 60%, in direct funding while they sort this catastrophe out and figure out a way to replace this lending system. So number three, right after you suspend the lending program, stop testing bankruptcy claims in court on federal student loans. Stop it. I maybe should have thrown in there, call on Congress to pass S-2598. But I didn't include that because that's not within the president's power to do. Number four, obviously, cancel federally owned loans, the loans that he can cancel by executive order. But most importantly, direct his Undersecretary of Education, James Kowal, who I happen to know, hope, and believe is a good person. I could be wrong. I hope I'm right. Also, the Federal Student Aid Chief Operations Officer, Richard Cordray, who, again, I don't know him personally, but I've seen him at Jeopardy, and he's a 5-time Jeopardy champion. Very smart guy, and I've seen him in action. He strikes me as being about the best person I could hope for in charge of the federal student loan program. The president should task these two individuals with all that stuff. Suspend the lending program, and during the interim period, create a sane model for funding higher education in this country and implement it. Now, I mean, scratch. These gentlemen, James Kowal, Richard Cordray, and probably a few others, Toby Merrill, others, they need to be given a blank canvas on which to replace this failed lending system. Now, that may sound crazy to you, like, no, that's never going to happen. This is the government we're talking about. This is trillions of dollars. Don't be so sure. Never in our nation's history has a lending program, be it government run or any loan system in this country, ever failed so astonishingly, so catastrophically, so completely. Never, ever in the history of this country. I think I'm right on that. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Yeah, I mean, this is way worse than subprimes. Default rate for subprime home mortgages was 20%. Default rate for student loans was 40% in 2004 when people were borrowing less than a third of what they're borrowing today. Yeah, this is the worst, most catastrophically failed lending program in U.S. history. There's no saving it, and there should be no saving it. And Richard Cordray and James Kowal and probably Cardona, if he knows anything about student loans, which frankly I don't think he does. These guys are not dumb guys. They are looking at the same data that I'm looking at. In fact, they're looking at far more data than I have access to. So they know what I know. What I know is what I just told you. And as a public servant, what would you rather do? Spend 2.5 years pretending that some big government behemoth lending monstrosity that's ruining people's lives? Would you rather spend 2.5 years pretending that that is a viable lending system and putting out fires and defending it and all that bullshit? I don't think so. I don't think Richard Cordray takes any pleasure in having to defend this failed lending program. Same thing with James Kowal. I think back in their own heads when they thought of, what they wanted to do with their lives, they probably wanted to do something great. And doing something great would be to reinvent higher education funding, certainly, in this country. Now, that is a calling that I would get out of bed in the morning for. So, too, I have to believe James, Richard harbor similar aspirations. So I put that tweet up unapologetically, and I mean it. And I think as time goes on, I'm going to mean it even more. And I hope you're with me on that. Now, what form that takes, I don't know. But it's time for a fresh start, a true fresh start. And I hope you agree. And if you have any comments on that point, somehow I kind of think I may be preaching to the choir on this, but truly, guys, it's politically, it would be a winner for Biden to come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to level with you. The lending system is failed like nothing I've ever seen. I bear some responsibility. Yeah, I helped remove bankruptcy back in the 70s and again in 2005. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of played the game and, I let this thing get out of control. And now I'm sitting here and I have no clue what to do. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I know that I have to at least be honest with you and say that we collectively here in Washington, D.C., under undue pressure from Wall Street in many cases, really screwed this up. And I apologize. And so I am now ordering the lending system suspended. I'm ordering direct funding for the colleges and universities for, say, up through the end of next year. And during that time, I am tasking a special blue ribbon commission, James and Richard and whoever else, to replace this failed, dangerous lending system. That would win the Democrats a midterm election. That would put Biden in a very strong contention for winning a second term as president. There is absolutely nothing else that I can think of that Biden and the Democrats could possibly do to avoid not just losing both House and Senate, perhaps catastrophically and for many, many years to come in the midterm elections, but also to salvage his presidency. I'm just going to say it. I was at least conscious during Carter. I wasn't the oldest guy in the world. I think I was around 6 years old when Carter first took office. But nonetheless, I kind of remember how that went, and it didn't go well for Carter. And right now, Joe Biden is queued up to be a far worse president than Jimmy Carter. And that's pretty hard to do. I love Jimmy Carter. Nice guy, no doubt. But he was not a good president. His whole cabinet quit on him, or maybe he fired them, I suppose. But Jimmy Carter was not a good president, guys. He did not do well in office. And so, too, are we seeing even worse signs from Biden. So I think that's the right thing to do, guys. I truly do. And I frankly, I will argue that with anybody. And quite frankly, I think people like James Kowal and Richard Cordray and other good people, and I have to believe there are some good people at the Department of Education, quite a lot of bad people, maybe more bad people than good people. But I have to believe that there are some decent people there at the Department of Education. I certainly know quite a few good people who retired from there, like John Oberg and other people. Mr. Murray, you know who you are out there. So, guys, I have hope, and I hope that you do too. So I'm seeing a few more comments here. Hey, Joanna asks, are there any more interviews with the media? We have a bunch of media little things cooking right now, guys. I'm not going to say who or where from. I never say anything about current media stuff until after it publishes, like the piece in the New York Times published today, which is very good. Thanks again, Michael Cheney out there for stepping up. I really loved Michael's photo, by the way, as well. He seemed pretty pissed off in the photo, and that is very appropriate. But yeah, we've got quite a few more in the hopper. Guys, we would love to go into the Lion's Den again. We'd love to go back on Fox News. We were on there in April. We would love to go back on. We would love to go on with Tucker Carlson. We would love to go on. Shit, I'll go anywhere. Doesn't matter to me. I will talk to the most vociferous critic, and I will get that critic on our side if he's an honest guy or girl. I would like to have more than 4 minutes to go back and forth with Dana Perino at Fox News, like what happened in April. But we love going in the Lion's Den, guys. That is where this battle is won. Truly. So anything you can do to make that happen, if I call Fox News and go, hey, you should really interview me, it never happens. Never happens. If somebody else contacts some reporter or news organization or something and says, hey, you should really interview this guy. I think he's onto something, look at the petition, look at the group, then it seems to work at least better. It's still a numbers game, to be sure, but that's kind of the way that works. So anything that you can do, we have people available to be interviewed who can put a face to the story in every, media market in the country, every town, every city, big and small, more than likely. We've got over 1 million members now, guys. By the way, guys. So we have people everywhere, and many, in fact, maybe even most of them are willing to be interviewed. And they've got very compelling stories to tell. Believe you me. We've got people who borrowed like 20 grand, have paid back like 100 grand, and way over 100 grand, like that. We have just incredibly astonishing stories. We've got some very sad stories, very compelling stories, you name it. But the media should be reporting our side of this argument far more. Speaking of which, go to our Medium platform. If you don't know much about this problem, well, first of all, who can blame you? I never cared about student loans until I was screwed by them. And even then, it took me years and years to learn to know anything about them. Now I know way more than I ever wanted to know. But if you want to be, and we need you in this fight, this is not a wait and watch and worry and watch Alan and Leslie and Terry and Michael and Ann fight this battle first. No. This is a grassroots deal, guys, which means we all have to fight or we will lose. This is your battle. These are your loans. Watching, waiting, and worrying and reading Forbes freaking magazine, that's not fighting. That's doing exactly what our opposition wants you to do, which is nothing. Don't do that. Help us fight. So, what was I saying? So the whole point was that, go to our Medium platform. Here, that's what I was going to do. Dial in our Medium platform. We do research, guys. The number one thing we do on this group is research. We live and breathe the data. We've broken many stories, many places, including 60 Minutes, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. We've broken stories at the Wall Street Journal. Did I say? I just said that. We do research, and we do top-notch, second-to-none research. And we have broken some incredible stories, not only in the past, but right now we are sitting on a number of unbroken news stories about student loans. And if you go to our if you go to our Medium platform right there, go there and you should read at least the first 7 articles on that thing. And you will see some headlines that will blow your mind. You probably won't even believe at least 2 to 3 of them. But I guarantee you, all of those headlines are absolutely true and easily proven by nothing more than Department of Education data, facts. The media is terrible right now, guys. Have you not noticed? Just Google student loans, do a Google News search for student loans, and you'll see how against us the mainstream corporate / Wall Street / swamp media is. For example, older people outnumber younger people with student loans. That is a headline that has never been written. And it is very easily verified through the most recent Department of Education data. You don't even have to be smart to be able to verify this data. The media has not, we broke the story over a year ago. The story has not yet been published as such. It's gotten some mentions, and I think maybe a couple of art reporters here and there have at least spoken about part of that research, like people over 50 outnumber people under 25, maybe. Like I think the Guardian may have done something like that, or no, someone in Florida. Anyways, very important unbroken news on that Medium platform. Read those articles, and when you do, and take your time, enjoy them. They're not hard. And when you do, you will be a very fine, fit, fearsome student loan justice warrior. And we need you to do that because this is a war. This is your war. This is your battle. This is your livelihood on the line here, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, this is your battle. You got to fight it. I don't know what else to tell you. We'll be here 10 years from now as long as nobody's doing anything. And I have to say, I'm very pleased with the recent growth I've seen in the number of people who are doing, for example, the most important action thing I will tell you today, people who are doing our daily actions. So if you go to studentloanjustice.org, you'll see something that says daily action. It's usually Twitter stuff. It usually takes you literally seconds to do. It's like retweet this, retweet that, retweet this. And maybe call a senator or maybe email a reporter. But usually it's just Twitter stuff. Retweet, retweet, retweet. Get a Twitter account even. If getting these loans gone are important to you, go the extra mile. And if you don't have a Twitter account, get a Twitter account for the specific goal of doing our daily actions. But as you go forward fighting this battle, and you will get into arguments all the time with people, ignorant people who don't know anything about this lending system. And they throw claims out like they're truth when they are actually complete bullshit. And, you know, being a normal person, you're not going to know any better. You probably take them at their word. But after you read like these 7 articles that I just told you about at our Medium site right there, you'll be like, hey, wait a minute. No. Most student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. They're not a bunch of liberal snowflakes. What are you talking about? And they're not a bunch of young kids. Most student loan borrowers are over the age of 35, not under. And on average, they owe 300% more than the younger group. How fucked up is that? Pardon my French. But those are so you can answer all of the haters. A little knowledge goes a long way, guys, and we need you in this battle. That's the most important thing I'll say tonight. We're not going to get anywhere without you. That's always been true. Now, we've got over 1 million people in our group. Of that, that is true. We've got 1.14 million signatures on our petition. We've got a couple 100,000 people across our other platforms, email. We've got 7 million views on our Giphy website, giphy.com/studentloanjustice. But, you know, on any given day, I'd say probably less than 2,000 or so people are actually doing anything. And that's just a fact. That's got to improve. And I'm seeing it improve like right now, which is very good. But guys, 17 years, guys, 17 years. I never thought I'd be doing this 17 years. I thought I'd be doing this like 2 years or 3 years after we broke a big thing on a top story on 60 Minutes with then Professor Elizabeth Warren in May 2006. I figured, yeah, in 2 years, this thing's going to be done finally. Well, here we are, lo and behold. I had no idea. I was naive. And the thing that has held us back is people's inaction. People think that the people on TV or on the internet or the talking heads in Washington, D.C. or their elected officials are going to solve this problem for them. They're not. They are not. It's not going to happen. You've got to help us fight. That's just the most true thing in the world. Now, everybody I see here tonight, they know They are doing the work. I've seen them. Joanna does the daily actions every single day. She's got a sick dad to care for, but yet she finds the time. Martha Monroe in New Jersey, she suffers from ALS. She's wheelchair bound. She can't even speak. And she finds a way to do our daily actions every day. I salute everybody out there. We are the pioneers on this. We are the tip of the spear, the eye of the storm, the teeth of the chainsaw, if you will. I'm here in Wisconsin, by the way. I have logging on my brain right now, but we're it, guys. We're it. And if there was another group out there fighting the actual fight to actually get student loans canceled, I would join that group. But there isn't, because we're it. We are that group. And there is absolutely never will be any substitute for your actions. So I'm tempted to say something super corny like be the change you want to see. But come on, guys, spare me the humiliation. We're not dumb. We're not stupid people here, guys. We're smart. We're hopefully a little smarter than the average bear, being as how we've all been to college, I presume. We can think for ourselves. We don't have a marketing department. We're just a grassroots group. We don't have a staff. We don't have a lobbying team at our disposal to order around. All we have is people, volunteers who of their own free will decide to fight this battle with us. That's all we've got. At the same time, that's really all we need, guys. I mean, can you imagine if even 10%, of our members, so let's call that 100,000 people, if even 10% of our people were doing stuff every day, like our daily actions, which I hope that you're doing yesterday's daily action today, like right now, during this live stream. You can literally do it in 45 seconds while you're listening to me. I kid you not. All you need is a Twitter account. 100,000 people a day were doing our daily actions. We would blow up the Twitter account of everyone we targeted every day. We could melt the switchboards of every congressional office every day. That would solve this problem. We'd be done. We'd be finished. We'd be at the finish line. We'd be sipping a margarita in the sands on the sea at the beach in Cancun if we wanted to be. But that all starts with you. We're all we've got, guys, but at the same time, we're all we need. We're all we need. And maybe that's a little corny too. I ripped that off from the Seattle Seahawks, but anyways, but it's true. We're all we need, guys. I say a lot of profound things on these live streams more and more lately that sound way over the top, way over dramatic. But I'm telling you guys, they're true. They're profound and they're true. This is an historic battle that we're engaged in here. This is a constitutional battle. This is a fight not only for 1 million people on this group, but for 45 million people in the country right now who have federal student loans, another 12 million people in the country who have private student loans or are co-signed on them. That's 57 million people we're fighting for, guys. And make no mistake, there are going to be tens or hundreds of millions of people to follow in our footsteps. And to even go a little higher, think about this, guys. What they did to student loans could be done to all loans. This is the camel's nose under the tent, as I like to say. It is. If they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, and they can if we let them, they could remove bankruptcy rights from every loan. And they would love to. They would like to do that. Already I'm hearing murmurs in Washington, D.C. about removing or putting similar impossible barriers to bankruptcy on medical debt. And where does it end after that? There is no end after that. In 30 years, this country could be completely conquered and enslaved by debt. We could be debt slaves. Debt slavery is a real thing, guys. I kid you not. Debt slavery has been with this country since the days of actual slavery, believe it or not. Indentured servants, when they came to this new world, a lot of them weren't even allowed off the boat until they signed bonds of indenture. They were whipped, they were beaten, and most of them never even survived to see their freedom. Maybe they had a child and had time added onto their bond of indenture. It's a real thing. Debt slavery is not fake. It's real. It's not real slavery. It's not whips and chains, obviously, but it's a very real thing. So, Joe Biden, he has an opportunity. And I said this yesterday, and some people jumped on me calling me a racist, and I resent that greatly. But Joe Biden truly has an opportunity here to be, in many ways, the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln, who freed the actual slaves. I'm not saying we're slaves. I know it's a completely different thing. But I look back to see what other presidents in our nation's history have acted such as to financially emancipate people. I could have maybe said FDR because in 1932 or 33, he signed a bankruptcy law. But that bankruptcy law that FDR signed wasn't that good. It was largely for businesses, companies, and it was overturned by the Supreme Court afterwards. So I can't really say FDR. And prior to that, I mean, did any president end, indentured farmers, sharecroppers? I don't think any president actually ended sharecropping. I don't think that really kind of ever ended, really, sort of. So, and I could maybe say, who was it, Johnson or Jackson? There was a president who signed another bankruptcy law back in the 1870s, 1878. But again, it was a crap bankruptcy law. It was meant only for businesses. So you have to go back to Abraham Lincoln to find a president that by his own force of will really caused any financial or any emancipation, any freedom of the people by his own will. So, I don't mean to compare Biden to Lincoln. I think that's stupid. There's a far different time. Debt slavery is not slavery, but debt slavery is debt slavery, and it's a very real thing, like sharecropping, maybe minus the racial component. So anyways, guys, we're fighting a very important constitutional battle, and much depends on how hard we fight. We can't. This is our war, our battle. Your loans, your battle. So we're counting on you to fight for yourself, fight for 45 million other people in the country who right now, today, would be on our side if they knew we were there. And by the way, 80% of all federal student loan borrowers were underwater on their loans before the pandemic. So we should have 36 or 7 million people on this group. And I think they probably would be inclined to join this group if they knew about this group. So tell them, because they will never know unless you tell them. Please be an ambassador for student loan justice. And remember, guys, there's a lot of groups out there fighting for $10,000 or fighting for $50,000. That's all bullshit, guys. Bullshit. Up to 10,000, up to 50, nonsense. That's a trick. It's a vile, sinister trick. And as I said at the very beginning of this broadcast, the trick is to foist a fake loan cancellation on us and keep bankruptcy gone from the loans. Bankruptcy is the most important thing that we need to be fighting for. We've got a great bill in the Senate right now, S-2598. If you forget everything I say tonight, remember S-2598. We've got to fight for this bill. Until that bill passes, we're not going to get any, I don't think we'll see any meaningful anything from Biden, just as a practical political matter. So do our daily actions. Please do our daily actions and do everything that you can to spread the word about this group. You can't, as I see Ed just popped up a note to me. Ed, our fearless co-leader. I hope you saw his live stream last night. Ed does our live streams on Tuesday and Thursday. He's like a yang to my yin or whatever. Like I'm the fact spitter. He's more of the lava lamp hangout guy. So you probably will enjoy his live streams. a lot more than mine. But anyways, Ed is putting an article in front of my face here. I see the article, the headline is, "Don't cancel $10,000 of student loan debt. Cancel every penny." No doubt. And I don't know where that's airing at. Who knows? But those are the kind of pieces that we need to see. And remember, guys, right now the politics are such that loan cancellation politically is framed. It's framed in this fake framework. This is Biden going to cancel 10,000? Is he going to cancel 50,000? No, that's bullshit. This lending system catastrophically failed. Everything I said before, I'm not going to repeat myself. But again, the thing that is going to make Joe Biden actually cancel student loans as a practical political matter today in today's political reality is what I said, getting the threat of bankruptcy returned. So, all right, guys, I don't know what more I can say to get you to do our daily actions. I will say they are fun, believe it or not. And in fact, if you go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, let me just click that in for one last time before I leave. If you go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, you will see something on the front page along with the daily action, along with calling your congressman, along with signing our petition, something called the special action. Do that special action. It is massively, potentially powerful. And it's fun. It's like a box of chocolates. And I'm going to leave you wondering about that. And I will leave it to you to find out for yourself why I say that. Do special action. Like a box of chocolates. All right, guys, we're in a good space. Don't read all the propaganda. Don't worry about all the propaganda. It's going to happen. It's going to increase. We own this lending system. We are all we've got. But as I said before, what I say, we are all we need. So jump in. The water's fine. And if I missed any of your comments tonight, let me just apologize. Oh, we've got a couple more comments here. Vanjie and Ruse. Hey, Vanjie, how are you? Vanjie from California. Says, I am so grateful for live streams because there are so many downs to this roller coaster. Oh, well, good, Vanjie. I'm glad that we can give some people some hope in this battle. It's actually a fun battle to fight. Once you start getting into it and you start winning the skirmishes, you understand what a strong thing we are onto, guys. We've got a tiger by the tail, and we've got the founders on our side. Vanjie says, well, got to say they promised us that if we serve them, we can get PSLF. Yeah, all the income-driven repayment plans, including public service loan forgiveness, IBR, IDR, pay and repay, they are all sick jokes. They are anchors disguised as life vests. Don't forget about all that. Clear your mind. This lending system is failed. We need a fresh start. Twitter question. Oh, Terry Dodd. How are you, Terry? Sorry, Mr. Comment. Happy Wednesday and happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. Let's keep the momentum going on S2598. I want these loans gone. I'm continuing to do the daily actions. You should too if you want these loans gone. Thank you, Terry. Preaching to the choir. Anne asks, did you know a lot of people are banned from Twitter? Believe it or not, that's effed up too. We've had a few reports of people, more than a few people, not many, but we've had a few people say that they've been suspended on Twitter for retweeting our comments. We've never been suspended on Twitter for comments. No, wait, I take that back. I think I was suspended from Twitter for calling somebody a whore about 2 weeks ago, and I was suspended for 1 day. But other than that, we've never been banned or suspended or even, we've never been suspended or banned from Twitter, but for that one thing. So there's no good reason for anybody to be suspended on Twitter for retweeting our stuff. Nonetheless, we get rarely, but not insignificant number of people saying that that's happening to them. I don't know what's going on, guys. The one thing I can say is if it's a new account, you probably want to mix up your retweets with like comments and like, I don't know, quote tweets maybe or something. But apparently maybe if Twitter sees a whole bunch of retweets from one account, it gets suspicious. It might be something about that. Hopefully it's nothing more sinister than that, but you never know. We've been shadow banned before. It wouldn't surprise me. But as I said, guys, we're all we've got. We're all we've got. But we're all we need. We are all we need. So please help us take this battle, your battle, very seriously. I got to end it there, guys. Sorry if I missed your comments. I'll respond to any I missed offline later on, but that's it, guys. Make it happen. These are your loans, your problem. I trust you. We trust you, and we need you, and we're glad you're here. I'll see you on Friday. Ed will be back tomorrow. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everyone.